How's it going, guys? Welcome back to West of Loathing. One thing that was pointed out to me in the comments that I was not fully aware of is that all these times I've been talking to my partner here, you can get this little bit of dialogue about what's going on in the specific area, and you can just move on with that. Every time I've talked to Florence, I have seen like the count of how many ghosts are left to deal with, and then I think I've just said thanks, see you later. I somehow repeatedly missed the fact that you can ask about the current location, so I might try and go through different rooms and just see what kind of things Florence has to say. So just standing outside of the manor here, is the ghost hunting business like lucrative? Do you get a lot of business? Yeah, I do okay. There's plenty of sudden and violent ways to die in the territories, so hauntings aren't exactly rare. I've never gotten a call for so many at once though. Why's that? Ghosts are pretty territorial. Almost nobody has a house big enough for more than one. I see. And obviously for things like the carriage house that she's not in, I'll just be skipping over entirely. Oh, we also have the parking validation guy here. He's new, right? Hello again. Oh, it's you. Hey. They let you smoke in here? Let's just say they haven't successfully stopped me. Why sneak off to the carriage house to smoke if you can do it in here while you're working? Well, I'll give you a hint. I don't like working. Can you validate my parking? Didn't you say you got here in a ghost carriage? That's right. Those don't usually take up space, so it doesn't count as parked. Ah, well, never mind then. We also haven't actually spoken to the actual info desk guy. Oh, hi. Thanks again for freeing me from that book. You still have marks where the engraving's pressed into your face. I'm hoping they fade with time, but if not, I can always quiz myself while shaving. Just on general geology knowledge. So, what do you do here? I provide information. Want some? Yeah, sure. Great, that's what I'm here for. What would you like to know? What can you tell me about Mrs. Gunn specifically? Her full name is Teresa Olivia Gunn, but informally she goes by Terry. She was born in 1847 to Reginald and Priscilla Gunn. Her mother was a mathematician and founding member of the Western Society of Mathematicians in 1870, and her father was a catapult operator in the unpleasant disagreement of 1862. She invented the gun in 69 at the age of 22. There's a photograph of her on the wall there, accepting a prestigious inventing award. She married her husband, Dan, 20 years ago in 1875, and they had 3 daughters. There's so many numbers thrown around there that either it's just overly detailed because this guy works at an info desk, or there's going to be like a puzzle that has to do with like how old was Mr. Gunn when they got married and things like that. Interesting. Other than that, there's not a lot we know about her. She's a very private person, especially after she gave the house to the Historical Foundation and locked herself in her room 4 years ago. Anything else you'd like to know? Tell me about the family. Well, let's see. She married Dan, staple remover. That a much more useful invention than guns. I can't believe that they didn't build the foundations. Oh, now you know that he didn't get in it for the money. He clearly had his own mountain of wealth to bring to the table. In 1875, he was the inventor of the staple remover. Did you know that? They'd met at an inventors convention 3 years previously. I like how no one comes up with names that make any, your last name just happened to be what you are going to name the invention after. Like, did he have to invent a staple first, and then he was able to invent the staple remover? Or did he just have a really convenient last name to lean on? Like, Gunn, there was nothing previous. You just had to name the gun after your own name. This one's a little more confusing. There's like a chicken and an egg thing going on with this guy's last name. Dan decided to take her last name because he wanted to call his invention Office Chompers, and he was always a little annoyed that people called it after him instead. They had 3 daughters named Dorothy, Blanche, and Rose. Well, that's nice. Unfortunately, Dan vanished mysteriously in '89, shortly after Rose was born. Nobody knows what happened to him, although it's generally assumed he was killed by bandits while he was on the road for gun industry's business. And then all 3 of the girls went missing the year after. Damn, that's a rough go. They went to summer camp and were just never heard from again. No ransom note or anything. Mrs. Gunn was never the same after that, naturally. She started blaming it on ghosts, though as far as I know, there's been no ghost activity here until just the other day. That's a very tumultuous, troublesome history that they have here. Also not the sort of stuff I would expect them to get into at an info desk. That's like deep buried personal stuff you would find in like a biography or something that went digging deep, you know? Tell me about Gun Manor itself. Isn't it amazing? Mrs. Gunn had it built in the mid to late 70s. You have specific dates for everything, and you're just guessing on that? When she and her husband decided to start a family, it was finished in 77. It has 8 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, plus a whole host of modern conveniences, like electric lights, a coal-fired boiler, and a bowling alley. My personal favorite is the library. I think we've probably been to all these rooms. But I guess you knew that one already. Mrs. Gunn donated the house to the Historical Society in '91 with the provision that we keep the place properly maintained and send meals up to her room in the kitchen dumbwaiter, which I don't think we actually saw. She's actually never come out of her room since then, although she still communicates via telephone or the house intercom sometimes. Tell me about rocks, seeing as you spent God knows how long underneath that book of geology. Great! I know a ton of stuff about rocks now. Even though it has nothing to do with Gun Manor, he just likes to be a generally helpful info desk guy. He'll provide info on anything and everything. Specifically igneous rocks, and granite in particular. Did you know granite gravestones and memorials are considered a status symbol because the tools to carve and engrave such hard stone with speed and precision have only recently been invented? In fact, was it by Daniel Gravecarver or something like that? In fact, until about 15 years ago, there was only one workshop in the world that produced them, run by the inventor Alexander MacDonald, who also invented the Harzburger. He's MacDonald, so he made Harzburgers. Although that proved less popular because Harzburgite is not one of the edible kinds of igneous rock. I wonder if Alexander MacDonald is a real historical geologist in some capacity or whatever, because that would make that even funnier, but I should consult with my geologist girlfriend who would know more about Harz and how that... It's probably something geology there. Weird. Tell me another one. Sure. How about this? Geologists call granite massive because it doesn't have any internal structures, and also because it comes in great big lumps. That second part seems like more reasonable, but less sciencey. Tell me another one. How about this? There are over 700 different types of igneous rocks, and only 3 of them are edible. I would love to know which ones. I would love to start my all-rock diet. Sure. How about this? Igneous rocks are formed when magma cools and solidifies, which can happen either above or below the Earth's surface, or even in your own home. I hope I never get magma in my home. Granite is a natural source of radiation and can contain 10 to 20 parts per million of uranium, which is why you shouldn't fill your underwear with it despite the pleasant weight. I personally like the texture, but if weight's what does it for you, that's interesting too. Hitting something with a rock was the very first human invention, and the second was swearing when you accidentally hit your own hand. It's pretty funny. I thought it was going to be just like throwing a rock at someone was the first weapon or something. Granite was an integral part of the architecture of many ancient societies, which is why the ruins of those buildings still exist today, unlike those of the ancient peoples who built all their structures out of cheese and wheat paste. Tend to not hold up as well. Also, you're more likely to just eat it. You get a little bit peckish, and food was probably in short supply. Obsidian is a type of volcanic glass that, if chipped properly, can be so sharp it can cut a razor blade in half lengthwise. That's the more difficult way. Granite contains at least 25% quartz, which makes it useful as a resistor in all kinds of magical devices. I think granite being partially quartz might actually be, like, 25% quartz is a real thing. I'm not 100% certain. I only took, like, Earth and Atmosphere Sciences 100. Granite tables are frequently used as bases for optical instruments because they're very stable and easy to see. These are getting less applicable than further and further stretches. The word granite comes from the ancient word granum, or grain, because of its pleasant wheaty smell. The first part is true. I think I've had enough of these. That's enough rock facts. In case anyone doesn't subscribe to any rock subscription services where you can gather all these facts for yourself, I thought I would share as much as possible and allow everyone to partake in the sweet, earthy goodness. How about this specific room? glad that's taken care of. The ice or the spiders probably. Jeez, Florence, it was only a little one. It was nearly as big as my head, so the spiders. Yeah, but if it was drawn any smaller, it would have just looked like a black dot. Don't get all meta on me. It's unscientific and I hate it. We've had a few meta jokes come up specifically with Florence. Speaking of the intercom, we haven't used this in forever. Press the talk button. Yeah, you can't get any further along with this. That would have been a pretty good joke if the intercom wasn't broken. Would it? Would it have? What do you have to say about the first floor of all this? Looks like we've cleared a path through the ice. I don't want to hang out in here too long. The damp is bad for my gear. Surely it'll be fine as long as you're not rolling around on the carpet. Sure, go ahead and spoil all my fun. This will also be a good excuse for me to go like one at a time and remember what these individual ghosts are actually looking for. So in the dining hall here. Hey, do you ever make chili? Sure, doesn't everybody? Do you put a gun in it? I'm having trouble remembering my mom's recipe. Come on, you can't hardly even call it chili if it doesn't have a gun in it. No, I'm kidding, it's insane. In the kitchen itself here, do you know how to poach an egg? What? No, I've never stolen an egg in my life, and you can't prove otherwise. Apparently no one knows what the hell we're getting at when we're talking about egg poaching. I definitely have to figure that one out, though, to get to the lard can, because I'm pretty sure that's going to be the can I need to make the silencer for the gun. Are you cool down in the basement now that we got rid of all the big spiders? I killed all the spiders, the coast is clear. All of the spiders? Well, not all of them, just the ones down here in the cellar. I have not committed mass global genocide against spiders, unfortunately. Assuming no more come out of the big hole in the wall that seems to contain an infinite number of them. Okay, so percentage-wise, you killed basically 0 spiders. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you put it that way, if you want to look at cup infinitely empty, then yeah, sure. Ooh, what about the science room? You're probably all fired up about, like, the science room where you tinker and do mechanical things. So, how is Mrs. Gunn's lab treating you, Florence? It's great. The one problem I have with it is that all her hammers are metric. It's a screwdriver-specific thing. Oh, weird. Weird. Right? But generally speaking, if I need a hammer, it means things have gone pretty far south. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that. And the old coal room here. I'm surprised you followed me in here, despite the spiders. Yeah, well, if there's one thing I hate more than spiders, it's missing out on a chance to shoot accelerated protons at some kind of spectral entity. Yeah, that's where he fought the GHOST. I hope you guys don't mind me doing an episode like this where I am just trying to, like, gather up as many jokes as I possibly could have missed. It seems like it just becomes more comprehensive that way, you know? Well, we've already tackled quite a few little individual storylines and stuff like that, and we'll get back on track with that soon enough. So hopefully you guys are still enjoying it, and partial reminders of what we've done so far. What about the second floor? They've got a library down the hall there. Think they'll have any good science books? I've read all the good ones. Oh, unless maybe they have the new issue of Inscrutable Mechanics. Only one way to find out. Is this a new thing that I can try and gain now from this all of a sudden? Can you show me where to find Inscrutable Mechanics? Any word specifically within the library? So, do I get to shoot this one? Shh! Please, can I shoot this one? I don't know, your gun is pretty loud. I could just hit her with it. Just do a little bit of pistol whipping for a ghost. I'm not entirely certain actually what I have to do for this ghost to get her to move on. She can answer questions for me, and I can fight her. That's about it. In the fun art gallery, which we have to come deal with this lawyer again here. What do you have to say about the gallery? This sounds like a real complicated one. Yeah, probably. I know a real simple solution. Florence pats her science rifle. Just saying. Just an easier way than trying to work through all the legal jargon to finish up with this one. Probably after I bomb around the rest of the rooms in the manor here, I'll go back and deal with that. Any word in the guest room section here? So what do you think? We gonna blow up this ghost or what? She seems kinda kindly and peaceful. I get that, but she also seems extremely ghostly and spectral. I do have a job to do here. Let me think about it. I feel like you'll get paid regardless of how we deal with the ghosts. Assuming someone is paying you. I certainly wasn't planning to, so I would hope that someone else would take over that position for me. That duty, I should say. Did you figure out how to make a good exploding cigar? One that doesn't turn fun into funeral? Ugh, I can't even make basic wordplay funny. Well, it was kind of clever, but what other novelties did you invent? You must have had one good one. Well, I invented a can of mixed nuts that had a spring in it, so when you open it, the nuts spray out everywhere. That's kind of funny. It would be like some really quality subversive humor, but it only, I don't know if canned snake nuts exist at this point in this timeline or this world, so that kind of has to be invented first, I think. Nobody would ever open the can because of how it said deadly venomous snakes on the label. See, that's where you screwed up. Anything else? You know those flowers you wear on your lapel and it sprays water in someone's face when they smell it? You invented that? That's a classic. No, I tried to combine it with the chewing gum made out of hot peppers. You invented a boutonniere that maces people? Uh-huh. Anything else? People seem to like those little sea monkey things, so I thought maybe I'd do that except funnier. And then I thought, itching powder's pretty funny. You made itching powder out of brine shrimp? No, they're aquatic. It wouldn't work. I used spider eggs. Oh my god. That one's just confusing on all levels, man. I don't know where you thought funny was going to come into this situation. I tried to make an ultra-realistic stink bomb using pure methane gas. Turns out pure methane is actually odorless. That isn't why farts smell bad. No, it is certainly not, and we're not going to get into that. Also, extremely flammable. Anything else? You know those fortune-telling fish? The little cellophane things that curl up in your hand to predict the future? No, I don't. I don't know how it happened, but mine was 100% accurate, and it was always terrible news. I think that's just your own sad life, buddy. I tried to improve on the classic rubber chicken. Let me guess, not rubber? Good guess. Well, this sentence alone is an oxymoron. There's no improving on a classic like that. Once I made some glasses that let you see through people's clothes. Wow. Right down to their skeletons. Okay, well, it's still pretty cool. Except for the part where they get cancer. Come on. Jesus. Man, you might have been a bad person. You weren't just a bad inventor, you might have been a bad person. Anything else? I've told you all the ones I remember. I can tell them to you again if you want. No, that's okay. I had my fun. I can move on now. Hello again, dear. Were you able to find me a new eye? Oh yeah, we popped it out of that, like, crappily done moose on the wall, because it had a loose eye. I was on the loose of the moose. I kind of forgot that's what she was looking for. Yes, kind of? How kind. Thank you very much. She takes the glass eye from you and puts it in, whereupon it falls through her and onto the floor. She tuts as she picks it up. Oh dear. It's a little too physical? Yeah, I wasn't certain that this would work. Don't worry. This is easily fixed. Do you have a hammer I can borrow? Yes, I do. I've been curious the whole time how you kill an inanimate object. Maybe if a ghost does it, it counts? That'll do nicely, thank you. She takes the hammer, places the glass eye on the desk, and smashes it with a precise crack. How is she picking up the hammer and stuff? There's a lot of weird rules with the ghost world. Ah, perfect. She gives you back the hammer and plucks the ghost of the glass eye from the shattered fragments. After blowing the dust off of it, she tucks it into her eye socket. So there was ghost dust and stuff on this eye too. That fits much better. Look at that weird goofy one, extra big eye. Does it work? Well, now that you mention it, no, I can't actually see with it. It is the ghost of a glass eye, after all. Nope, emphasis on the wrong word. It is the ghost of a glass eye. Oh dear, this won't do at all. What a shame. You know, I don't really understand why your eye is still missing. What do you mean? Well, I always assumed when someone lost an arm or something, it just sticks around as an arm ghost. Oh my god, that's what phantom pains are, I guess? You just permanently have that limb? That's why people say that they can feel it itching sometimes, because you've got an arm there still, but it's a ghost. It's even called phantom limb syndrome. So logically, if the rest of you becomes a ghost after that, it would hook right back up. But then, where did my eye go? Maybe it got pushed back inside your head? The ghost thinks about that for a second, then shakes her head. Shake it more aggressively, and it might, like, pop to the front, you know? No, that seems... Wait. What? I do think I felt something just then. She shakes her head again. My goodness gracious! Keep going! It's like one of those puzzles where you try to get the marble in the hole. She bends her head forward and continues shaking it. Give yourself a whack on the back of the head like a ketchup bottle. You can almost hear a faint rattling sound, and then a plop. Ugh. She straightens back up, blinking with two eyes. You did it! Well, I'll be. Thank you so much, dear. I never would have thought of that. No problem. Have a nice time in heaven, or, you know, wherever. It doesn't matter. The ghost gives you a friendly wave and fades out of sight. That's that, then. Alright, is there anything I can do with your desk or belongings now that you're no longer here? No, but she's not going to stop me from going in between the rooms anymore, so that's one thing. Nice! Checking another one off the list while we're busy just being dumb and talking to Florence all day. We can multitask. Who says we only have to do one thing at a time? What do you got to say about the third floor? Are you in as high of spirits as I am right now? Looks like they have a music room. What kind of music do you like, Florence? Electro house. What? You wouldn't have heard of it yet. Is that what Florence and the Machine plays? I don't know the band that well, but that's my guess. How bohemian of you. Florence specifically doesn't come into Mr. Gunn's room. Kind of peculiar. That's because she's busy hanging out in the billiards room, it would seem. Gosh, I didn't know you could play pool like that. Like what? Like someone who'd never played before and only just saw a few minutes ago, read a geometry textbook and then get really lucky. What can I say? I'm a dedicated seat-of-the-pants flyer. Mrs. Gunn's room we can't access anyways. Music room, though. She talked first, which is unusual. Well, that's one way to do it, I suppose. It seems rude to shoot off guns in the music room anyway. My science rifle actually has a mode to convert it into an electric bagpipe, but I don't use it very much. Why not? Well, firstly, I'm a terrible bagpipe player, and secondly, you have to blow into the end of the rifle, and that makes me really nervous. Understandably. Oh, it makes sense that Florence would be attracted to the kid's room that has the kid ghost in it, right? Are you going to talk about how you want to blast this little kid? You're going to catch a curse off that kid if you ain't careful. A curse. Yeah, like you'll get a telegram that just said, 7 days, stop. Like the ring. And then 7 days later, you get crushed in a printing press or something. Yeah, I'll be sure to keep an eye out on that. Oh wait, in that case, we've probably seen everything that Florence had to specifically say, and we've also made a lot of additional pit stops and solved a few things. So now we can go back to the gallery and deal with some of our legal dealings here. Typically, I like to deal with my dealings. It seems like a good strategy. Let's see if I can apply that ingenuity to the courtroom. Oh wait, I won't push her on all the trivial stuff this time. They had an argument in the saloon. They accused McCready of cheating. I asked a bunch about that last time. Go on. The bartender yelled at them to take it outside, but since it was dark out, they agreed to meet for a duel the next day. And that would be the 18th, you said? Yes, the 18th, 1878. I have a question. Why didn't they just fight right then? Why didn't they just not fight? Did they set a specific time for the duel? Yes, that seems like a legitimate question. Yes, high noon. Figures. Why is it always high noon? Traditional, I suppose. And since the sun is at the highest point in the sky, everything's brightly lit and there aren't many shadows, so that's good for gunfighting. I think I had heard that it's like like, the sun isn't perfectly in the center in high noon or whatever, so I think high noon is literally different than noon. Noon would be like 12 p.m. High noon is when the sun is in the center, so that it's technically not in either person's eye. I could be wrong about that, but I think I have heard that before. Makes sense. Plus, you can go have your duel on your lunch break. Let's ask one more thing maybe. Why didn't they just fight then? Because it was dark. You can't have a gunfight in the dark. No, I get that, but they could have just had a regular old fist fight. They were mad enough to shoot each other to death, but not to punch each other? Well, without getting too psychoanalytical, these guys were gunfighters. I mean, they counted that as a significant part of their identity. Fighting without guns was not just outside their wheelhouse. They considered it a waste of their time and talents. Like asking a fancy French chef to make you a grilled cheese sandwich. I'd be down for that. He would probably use like garlic butter. He'd use like 4 different kinds of cheeses. I'd be all over that shit. He'd probably serve it with like a French onion soup. Hook me up. I'd ask that in a heartbeat. Alright, what happened next then? Well, the next day they both showed up shortly before noon and squared off about 30 feet from one another. When noon struck, McCready fired fast enough that Timsbury didn't get his shot off, on account of having his head shot off. That's pretty much the long and short of it. Yeah, okay, but like, was there a buzzer or something? They just... What if one guy's watch was fast? How are you deciding when noon struck? I'm going to have to ask for some more details on that. Go ahead. What weapons? He fired exactly at noon. You said there were witnesses. I'm lost. Exactly at noon? Yes, as soon as the church bell started ringing. Okay, so you had something to go off then. You also mentioned McCready's pocket watch. Yeah, let's bring that up. Yes, he had a fancy pocket watch that chimed on the hour. Is that important for some reason? Objection! McCready was cheating. Gah! McCready had been accused of cheating in the past, and this time he was. What are you even talking about? All he had to do was set his watch a few seconds early. That doesn't make any sense because they would both hear the sound at the same time, right? He didn't shoot early, he shot when the church bells rang. That's verified by witness testimony. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he used the watch to warn him when the church bells were about to ring. A 5-second get ready alert would have given him a huge advantage in reaction time. Oh, okay, so if it was like a very quiet watch. Ha! What do you say to that, counselor? You know, I'll give you that one. That's not bad. There's just 2 problems with that argument. Oh, what are they then? Firstly, you're just guessing. You have no evidence. Well, I mean, that's one thing. Tomato, tomato. And secondly, even if McCready was using that trick, which he may well have been, he was pretty clever, it wouldn't be illegal. What? There's nothing in duel law prohibiting the use of minor strategies like that. So long as McCready didn't fire before the appointed time, it's all overboard, above board. Overboard would not apply unless they were having a pirate duel. Nice try, Mr. Prosecutor, but I think you'd better think about this case a bit more before you try again. Well, nuts. I'm hopping right back in there. What was the name of the saloon? The Two-Headed Horse. Weird. Did they have one? No, I think the proprietor was just going for a sort of double entendre. Ooh, would it be like a double equentendre? I can't. Like, equine is horses. I can't fit that in there, but it doesn't really work. Yes, neither does my joke. Huh, no, it really doesn't. Two-headed spider, maybe, but anyway, do you have any other questions, or can we get on with this? I have another one. I think I asked about the day of the week. It was a Monday. That makes sense. Everyone's always a bit grumpy on a Monday. They should make the weekend Sunday and Monday instead. Then we could spend Monday relaxing instead of having to go to work. But then, whatever. Do you have any other questions? No, go on to the story. Testimony. I guess I have another question about this. Why didn't they just not fight? Probably they're just proud. What? Well, a fight breaks out in the heat of the moment, that's one thing, but they cool off enough to schedule a meeting for the next day and still go through with it? A card game's a heck of a thing to get killed over. It's an honor thing, I suppose. That, and they were each confident that they wouldn't be the one getting killed. Yes, it's dumb, but it's also extremely immaterial. toxic definitions of masculinity and the general lawlessness of the frontier are not what's on trial here. Apparently masculinity's been a problem for ages. Fair enough. Let me ask something else. I think I've covered all that, so I have no issues to press there. More details on the ending point, I suppose. What weapons? MacCready had a .45 caliber single-action army revolver. Timsbury had an older, I thought they had to have the same kind, older model .36 caliber cap and ball navy revolver, which he loaded with paper cartridges instead of packing the gunpowder by hand. Objection! Those are significantly different weapons. I feel like it's probably one of those things where it's like, you know, if you have like an illegal curve on your hockey stick, that's not allowed, or like an improper weighting in your baseball bat. But in a situation like a duel, if you both agree, like, I could kill you with this just as well as you could kill me with that, it's probably fine. Objection! Are you kidding me? They're both pistols. A modern cartridge revolver versus an antique cap and ball loader? Ridiculous. That antique was in production until 1873 and was considered one of the most reliable and popular six-shooters in the territories. Furthermore, the restriction against differing weapons in a duel is about pistols versus rifles, or the proverbial knife in a gunfight. Or, as more recent example, a nitwit trying to argue the law against a professional attorney. Devastating. We deserve to get kicked out for that one. Come on, what are we missing here? Do we have to go dig up literal evidence and like you can't actually just talk your way through this one? Tell me more about the argument. I don't know if I ever pushed that enough. They talk about having a history of cheating. He has a history. No, I tried to object to this before and it didn't work. You said there were witnesses. I think this is the one thing I haven't pressed so far, and probably it would be good to have someone who's backing up this story, right? About half a dozen of them watching from across the street or peeking through the half-open shutters. Were they interviewed? Yes, and their stories lined up with what I just told you. Were any of them known associates of MacCready? I'm not aware of them being actual friends with MacCready, but he was a local and a lot of people knew him. She gives you a suspicious look. Wait a minute. Just where are you going with objection? Oh, come on. Any one of those people could have interceded on MacCready's behalf. What? And done what, exactly? Well, they could have shot Timsfield with a more accurate weapon, like a rifle? Then there'd have been 2 gunshots instead of just 1. Or are you suggesting they shot him with a poison blowgun dart? What, was he tested for poison? Get out. Well, crap. I don't know. I feel like I've pushed every possible one of those. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I just have to come back to it. Maybe I can dig up some evidence at some point. But for now, I think I just kind of have to drop it. Damn. That's 2 episodes in a row with me just being a god-awful lawyer. We'll see if we can do better next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again soon.